Do you remember those weapons, maps, and operators for Modern Warfare that got data mined a long while back and that never made its way over into the game? Well, probably. I'm sure that a lot of you guys here have actually just been patiently waiting for that content, and I'm in that category as well. I'd love to see new stuff, and especially that stuff that's been data mined for quite some time come into the game. But the question comes down to when. And with Season 2 of Warzone, we actually got some rather interesting circumstances, and perhaps answers that haven't quite fully revealed themselves just yet in relation to that topic. So today I want to revisit that topic of that content that is yet to be released, what many people thought was going to be a Season 7 within Modern Warfare, and hopefully make some more sense out of what we see coming with the new information at hand. So as we go along, drop a comment down below to any of these questions. Firstly, have you seen any of these items within Warzone? Secondly, when do you think these items will be coming? And thirdly, do you think we'll end up getting all of the previously mentioned content? Or do you think we'll only see weaponry? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts. Drop a like if you enjoy the video. If you are new to the channel, do be sure to subscribe button. We're on the road to 400,000 subscribers, and we'll keep it the day with all things Warzone, Cold War, and anything COD related. So if you're interested in joining the community, I'd love to have you. And finally, code espresso is still 30% off over at gfuel.com in celebration of Season 2's launch. So if you guys want to try something out for the very first time, like a starter pack or restock on any tubs or anything like that, make sure to follow the link in the description below and use code espresso. That said, let's talk about the content that has yet to make its way over into Modern Warfare and Warzone. So for those that don't know too much about this here, that don't really know the contents that's been data mined, this has been there for quite some time within the game files of Modern Warfare. That content data mined months ago were two new operators, the likes of Soap, the classic, the one and only John Soap McTavish, as well as an operator named Sparks. Now, outside of that, Warzone, of course, had some introductions where Soap was on the comms channel with Price and the rest of 141 following the end cutscene of Warzone that we saw a couple of months back, but narratively that may have looked to set up a Modern Warfare 2, perhaps, a sequel to Modern Warfare 2019, but interestingly enough, again, Soap and this operator Sparks were found in the game files with operator bundles associated with them, seemingly hinting at that they were coming within Modern Warfare and Warzone. We also saw that data mined were 3 new weapons of the Sykov pistol, the CX-9 SMG, and the RAAL LMG. Now, interestingly enough, the Sykov and the CX-9 actually were in there from the very beginning, the RAAL actually being one that, as we'll talk about here in a second, seems to have made the most progress, but was a later introduction in the data mined content. We also saw that there were 4 maps up on offer that were unreleased and completely finished, it seemed like, in the game files of Kill House, a 6v6 map that may sound familiar because it is familiar in the remake from the COD 4 original, but also then the Modern Warfare remastered. There was a map called the Al Rob Airbase, another 6v6 map, and 2 gunfight maps of Townhouse from the campaign, and 1 called Drainage. Now, this data mined content was there from quite a long time ago. I think even as far back as some points as Season 5 within Modern Warfare, a lot of it though popping up within Season 6 of Modern Warfare, predating Black Ops Cold War's launch, and what a lot of people thought was then going to lead then to a Season 7 for Modern Warfare. But this stuff shifted from being just in-game files to then showing up in other locations that are actually visible within the game to the naked eye, like private matches where bots would drop. There were challenges that were visible and in the menus could be seen even, to also things like the weapons showing up in the combat record. Hell, if you completed and unlocked the challenge, the weapon even would pop up saying it was unlocked despite not being usable anywhere other than in Spec Ops, though you could actually use those weapons of the Sykov and the CX-9 in Spec Ops for quite some time. Then some of that was changed, things like the combat record, that was adjusted where both of those weapons of the CX-9 and the Sykov were removed, and other things were hidden further, but that's where it brings us to right now, Season 2. That stuff at its base fundamentals for the information, the things that we know about, it's not entirely new, but the strange additions come in the way of Season 2 introductions. If you've played Warzone at all, I know this is the case in Battle Royale. I don't play much Plunder, but I'd imagine it's the same way there. The weaponry, the CX-9 and the RAAL at least, you can find those in the game right now that are actually usable. Completely modeled assets, completely finished assets, and things that are viable weapons that pop up in weapon caches, in chest spawns, and other places around Verdansk. Something that is usually indicative of content that is on the way during the season, if not released already. Normally, when we see chest spawns and ground loot, those items are indications of what is to come, oftentimes being store bundles to like likely entice free-to-play or impressionable players into seeing a cool camo or a cool weapon build, and then when that time comes where it's available in the store, they're like, oh, that's pretty cool, I can use that in my loadouts all the time now. I don't have to just get it with random chance. That's been primarily what's been the case with ground loot blueprints and things like that throughout the first couple of seasons within Warzone. They're content that's rolled out throughout that current season. So that should mean that the CX-9, Sykov, and RAAL should all be coming within the season by that same logic, correct? I mean, just off the top of my head, I can think of a couple of different blueprints that I've seen in Verdansk that are unreleased ones, one being an M90 blueprint from the Tracer Pack Lucky, which is for St. Patrick's Day. That's something that hasn't been released just yet. We see that within the training and the practice area of Warzone, you can also get the Laughing Stock crossbow, the new crossbow blueprint for Black Ops Cold War that hasn't yet been released within the game, and therefore within Warzone as well. And if you take a look at it, we also, of course, see that RAAL LMG and CX-9 SMG also having that same treatment. Now, the Rook blueprint that the RAAL has, it doesn't seem to be associated to anything right now in the database, which is kind of weird. So that one's the outlier, but the CX-9, that Ciroc blueprint, that's tethered to the none other than SOAP bundle that is listed for right now on the back end in the game files as 2,400 COD points, a standard operator bundle that we've seen throughout Modern Warfare and now Black Ops Cold War as well. So that realistically could be coming at any point. At least we know about with things like the Tracer Pack Lucky, that's probably going to be released sometime around St. Patrick's Day, which is the 17th of the upcoming month, so I'd imagine that's released the week beforehand to get players ready for that. But things like that SOAP operator bundle and the other items don't really have any tethered ETA where we can kind of whittle that down to a finite guess. And that's where, again, some of these questions that we think we may have the answers to just haven't quite fully revealed themselves, because as much as I'd love to say that we have confirmation of a date for you, we just don't. But the clues are getting more and more apparent. They're in the game, playable right now, so we have to be just around the corner from it. So while we can almost now pinpoint that it's coming this season, we can't really do much more than that. But that's where I kind of want to chime in with some thoughts that I have here with this. Given that we know that this season looks to be what's housing these items, there are a few key locations we can look at within this season. Obviously didn't launch with the season, so that's kind of out of the way here. We do normally see weapons introduced on a bi-weekly basis almost if there's enough of them, so perhaps that's the case, but I'd more so look towards the mid-season update, that midpoint of season 2, where we see another title update. That could very well be the best likely candidate here for obvious choices. But one thing that has kind of been, the more I think about it and the more that we see this pushed back, jumping into my mind is perhaps just all tinfoil hat theory. So for real, take this with a grain of salt. This is just me kind of spouting out an idea that may happen, may not, but do you guys remember the prospect of a Modern Warfare 3 campaign remaster? That's something that keeps popping into my mind the more we see this delayed, because if you guys remember correctly, last time we saw a campaign remaster, Modern Warfare 2 campaign remastered, we're coming up on that 1 year mark. It's been released on PlayStation now for just about a year. It released on March 31st, so 11 months now at this point, and then released a month later for Xbox One and PC. Now, from what I've heard, contractually, Activision has to deliver a Modern Warfare 3 campaign remastered to fill out the obligations they had to Sony and PlayStation for exclusivity contracts. That started all the way back apparently with Modern Warfare Remastered. Maybe this information is wrong, but then that's why we ended up getting only a campaign remaster for Modern Warfare 2, because it was kind of the loophole they could do where they didn't have to risk an entire player base going to Modern Warfare 2 Remastered. And so therefore that logically, if that's actually the information that's correct, that could be why we end up seeing a Modern Warfare 3 remaster in the first place. But if you take a look at that 1 year mark, if they decide to do it following similar patterns, again, 1 year out, March 31st and up until a couple of weeks into April is actually still Season 2 for Warzone and Black Ops Cold War and Modern Warfare as well. So that content that we could end up seeing within Warzone right now tethered to a bundle for SOAP could be something that is also tethered to Modern Warfare 3 campaign remastered. If you guys remember, Modern Warfare 2 campaign remastered actually ended up having a ghost bundle that you ended up getting for simply purchasing that campaign remaster. You ended up getting basically the entire campaign free for the price of that bundle itself, but that bundle was also later sold in the shop as well, standalone. So it was both tethered and not tethered to it very similar to what could happen with a soap bundle. So while it may help to pinpoint one of the items, the rest still is, again, a big question mark. But it seems like for the first time in a while, we at least know that we're going to see it encompassed within this season. So that's kind of a big question mark that still remains, and I guess we're going to wrap it up, because right now, all we can do is wait. But we can play around with it a little bit in Warzone as well as in Plunder, so that's something you can check out for yourself. But that said, that is where we're going to wrap it up. I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. Extend this discussion out to you guys. When do you think? What's your theory here on when we'll end up seeing these items introduced? Do you think it could be something that happens again alongside perhaps a Modern Warfare 3 campaign remastered release? Do you think it could have the rest of the base weapons and everything like that introduced as of the mid-season update? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts. I would love to get them down below. But that said, that's where we're going to wrap it up. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Warzone, Cold War, and maybe even Modern Warfare content here in the very near future. But if you're interested in any of that, hit that subscribe button. If you also want to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Probably live on both those. If you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. But said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.